What suggestions do you have when operating the VEU for long periods of time?
Okay. Great question, Mr. Murray. Welcome to the show. Um, well, some of the tips and suggestions we have is when you're running it for long periods of time, you're going to need, well, every leak is different first, so you may or may not run it for a long period of time. But you always want to make sure you have the extra diesel fuel out at your job site, or however you guys do it, because it will, if you're running it all out, 18 probes deployed, the bypass is all the way closed and the throttle's all the way up, you can get roughly 8 to 9 hours on one tank of gas or diesel fuel. So you want to make sure you have that to keep it running. And also, I mean, some of the things you can do is when you're running it for long periods of time, you're going to keep checking and monitoring your bar holes with your CGIs to make sure that you're still drawing gas and you're zeroing out some of the holes. And then also, keep an eye on that sight glass window because you could see debris collecting in there, water, etc. And we recommend, if you're running it for that long a time, always, make sure that you are changing out that big K&N air filter. Keep that clean, because you treat your machine well, it'll treat you even better back. Because maintenance, these are robust machines. They're built to last. You take care of them. We have utilities, probably some of them on the call, that have had them and have used them for what, 10, 15 years already, if not more. And they're still running just like they were, from the factory, because they keep up with the maintenance. And then with anything else, long periods of time, nothing that I can think of offhand. Rick, do you have anything to add with that?
Yeah, some of you guys that have been on this call have used these units for long periods of time, which is kind of cool. And once we kind of get towards the last maybe 10 minutes, we can open it up if anybody wants to share some success stories or have some stories and then questions behind it. But yeah, I mean, the units are designed to be used for gas extraction, emergency situations, and pinpointing. So they are robust units that can go out there and they can be used for extended periods of time. With that, requires the operator or the fleet guy to be able to kind of just keep an eye on it. So monitoring your sight glass window for water levels is important, because even though the unit does and can pull water, you could potentially flood the unit if you pull it all the way up. So just kind of keep an eye on it. It's really easy to do. Walk past, give it a glance. If you see some a void in there where there isn't any water, you're fine. It's not like an inch of water is going to flood it. We're talking about filling up that entire cavity where that air filter is in order to flood it. So pretty unlikely for that to happen. I've personally never even heard it happening, and realistically, I was the guy that was getting a lot of these calls at 10 o'clock or 2 a.m. or things like that, and I'd never heard of anybody flooding it. It's possible, but unlikely. So keep an eye on that. Obviously, your diesel levels is one of the things to kind of keep an eye on. You're looking at, if you're running the unit full out with all 18 probes, you should get the majority of a work session out of it, which is, Dave, what's that? I think it's at like 8 to 10 hours or something like that for a full tank of gas, somewhere around there.
Exactly it.
So
You can get 8 to 10 hours on it all out. So you got plenty of time.
Yeah, so keep that in mind. Other than that, you really shouldn't, if you're operating it, and especially if the unit's been zeroed out or calibrated beforehand, you really shouldn't have to worry about doing anything to the sensor. The sensor should be good to go. If it's been calibrated and zeroed, shouldn't have to worry about that. I know Dave, I think you mentioned it already, is making sure that you use that lubrication at the end of a cycle. If you do have any sort of moisture going through it, just to kind of lubricate, it's preventative maintenance to kind of make sure that that blower is lubricated. Mm-hmm. Other than that, that's not much. I mean, we've had companies that have run these units nonstop for 24, 48, 72 plus hours, and they just kind of keep going. I mean, they're, those diesel engines, especially those Isuzu and for you guys out there that have the old HOTS engines, those, diesel engines last a long time, and they'll just keep cranking along.